What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? You are listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data a passion. I am your host, Dapper Data. Today, I have a very special guest on this podcast. Okay, I'm bringing you somebody that has created something that will change the game, change the world. I'm telling you right now, I can't wait to introduce this guest. But first, I want to introduce the topic, right? We've talked about programming languages, we've talked about supervised, unsupervised learning, machine learning, you name it. We brought people on the podcast that actually has nothing to do with data science or data related or anything like that. But in a sense, they kind of do because they make decisions day to day based off of data, whether it's a doctor, right? Whether it's a restaurant owner, you name it, right? So we've done some pretty cool things. But let's talk about customer feedback, okay? Or what I like to call maybe the voice of the customer and how important that is in guiding and informing decision making and influencing innovation and changes to your product and services. All right. So when we think about customer feedback, you can get it from anywhere. And this guest is going to tell you a lot more than I can. But when I think about it, customer feedback, you can get it from surveys, you can get it from focus groups, right? I hate focus groups, by the way, but whatever. You can get it from user testing, emails, right? You can get it from any one of those different avenues. And so I brought a special guest to help discuss the importance of the customer voice and how we use data to really help make some of those decisions, right? Getting feedback from the customer is important. So without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Matt Young. Hey, Matt, tell everybody what's up.
Hey, how y'all doing?
So Matt Young is the CEO of UserVoice, the first product feedback and research tool for software companies around the world. Matt has started his professional career as a software developer right when web browsers were released. Okay, so he's dating himself right there.
I'm old.
He
It's okay.
he, Matt has developed innovative solutions on the web well before SaaS and product management were important terms, that are today. And so user voice is what we're going to talk about, which is very important, and you'll see how that makes a great impact on things. We're also going to talk about the right data to collect from customers to make successful decisions. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Matt. Matt, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey, sure thing, and thank you. Yeah, I think even though I'm the CEO of UserVoice now, as Mr. Data told you, I come from an engineering background, and being in engineering leadership, I was never really satisfied with the quality of the information. Why we were being asked to build the things that we were being asked to build. It's a big, expensive machine to get an engineering team to go off and build a product feature, a new product, make a change, something like that. So when you get asked to do that and you're not really bought in to the research behind it, it doesn't feel very good. So when I had the opportunity to join UserVoice, it really struck a note with me because I like the notion of backing the decisions that you make and how to make a product better with actual information that comes straight from the customers who already use it, who are going to use it, who you're trying to sell it to, just to make sure you're building the right stuff and making the right decisions. So um, eventually I ended up running the company, and that's what we're doing today. So hopefully we can share some tips with you on how to make the most out of that information that's out there floating around in the world.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And I did a lot of research on user voice before the podcast, and it is an amazing product, right? It's an amazing idea. Like you said, supporting those decisions are important, right? And that's what data is about, right? Being able to you make a decision, you have the backing, you have something to support it, right? I like that. I love it. And so when I looked at user voice, right, it mentioned a single centralized product feedback solution that gives you everything you need, and probably more, right? Tell us a little bit about user voice. What is it doing? What's the idea behind it?
Yeah, so User Voice got started in 2008, and it was one of the first. We've all seen plenty of places where you get asked for your opinion about this, that. I mean, I get emailed surveys all day. I get annoying
Hmm.
pop-ups in the software I use asking me for feedback, and okay, that's fine. I never reply to those and never respond to them, but it doesn't mean I don't have thoughts about how the
Hmm.
products I use could be better, and that's true for most people. So um, User Voice is a product that makes sure that if you work at a company that uses User Voice, you can listen for what people are saying. They're telling your salespeople in demos what they like and don't like. They're emailing your support staff, asking them questions about how to get stuff done. When your product managers do interviews, they're hearing straight from customers what they want. Or, the industrious among us will go and share our opinions unsolicited if need be too. So we want to make sure that you can capture all of that wherever it may show up on your doorstep. It's like golden free information that's there to help you make a better product and build a better business. And then the product itself can make sure that all that stuff is organized, all in the same place, queryable, not overwhelming, and it's actually married with data from other systems too. So if I get feedback from a person and I know they're a customer, and I know they're a customer who's paying us a lot, and I know that they're a customer who's in the right role for the product that a company sells, I might want to pay a little bit more attention to that than someone who never bought the product, because they never saw the value in it or something like that. So we try to contextualize all the feedback that comes in and just make it an accessible research tool anytime you're thinking about making a change to a product or figuring out where you're going next.
So that the data that's coming in is coming in, I'm assuming, all different formats. It doesn't matter the format that you get, right? It could be free form as well, right? Probably surveys, things like that. So you can, I mean, is text mining involved a little bit? I mean, do they being able to understand emotions and all that stuff behind it?
Oddly, it's interesting. If you think about areas where people are telling you about your product, most of the time they're not telling you how great it is. They're telling you ways that it's deficient, right? They're telling you like, I wish it did this, or this is slow, or this is frustrating, or something. Most people, it's just not in our nature to go knock on someone's door and say, hey, you're doing a really good job.
Right.
You go tell people something that you want to be better. So in our case, like, sentiment isn't really a useful thing, because it's going to be neutral, negative almost all the time. And how does that help you? It doesn't really. It's kind of depressing, actually.
Right.
To read through all this stuff, you have to put on your thick layer of skin to read some of this information. But we do try to see, through natural language processing, what the themes are that are coming through. People don't express the same problem with the same language. They'll say very similar things, but use very different words to do that. And if you're getting a large volume of feedback, being able to see, hey, this idea that was expressed, it's a lot like that other idea, and do they really solve the same problem? So we try to marry those together to make sure that it's easy to get through understanding all that information that comes through.
Oh man, that's amazing. Because so many times I filled out the same surveys, right? You get the surveys and the interviews that I've done, and they're collecting all this data, right? And now when I look at surveys, right, sometimes I I mean, now that I'm going through my PhD, as I mentioned to you before, and I'm thinking, man, what's the mechanism of data collection that I want to use, right? You know, I'm sure I can get false information, right? I don't know how you get around some of the false information from like surveys or people just saying, hey, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna fill this out, right? Just to go ahead and get the reward at the end, whatever it is, right? So you're collecting all this data. I mean, I guess you're not in the business to probably tell the end user or the person that's working with you whether the data is correct or not, right? Or whether they just went through it or not. You're just probably the central mechanism to say, hey, here's the data we collected. Are you cleaning the data throughout the process as well before you give it?
Yeah, well, we do try to give people best practices, right?
Okay.
It can be very misleading. Like, if people are telling you the wrong things and you act on it, then that's not really a good business decision. So we
Right.
try to do whatever we can to help you assess the quality of what people are telling you. And I think this is important in any research that you do. Like, this is not the singular source of truth for you to act on. It's
Right.
a good place to help you know where to get started. Like, okay, cool. People
Mhm.
are interested in this subject, and it's increasing in popularity over the past several weeks. So I should go talk to a handful of people about this problem in a one-on-one interview and understand it a little bit better. I'm curious, you said you reply to surveys and you're thinking about how you do that. We did a lot of research. I think we asked more than 1,000 users of B2B SaaS software, which is the primary market that we sell to, what causes them to leave feedback or what would motivate them to do so.
Oh.
What makes you respond to a survey? What are the things that make you say, yeah, I'll respond to this one, but not that one?
I would say I need to be interested in the topic, and there may be a
Mhm.
certain level of interest, right? In the topic. And I mean, if you could go from like 1 to 10, I have to be above a 5 for me to even open up an email or open up
Yep.
the survey or whatever it is to say, hey, look, I'm interested enough to go through these questions, right? Because I really do believe time is valuable, and am I really going to waste time to go into something I'm not really interested in, right? And maybe I'm interested in the actual topic or interested in the results that come about because I know it means something. Uh, or I guess when I think about it, in order for me to not, I guess, for lack of better words, kind of BS the topic, right? BS the,
Uh-huh.
go through
Yeah.
the process and just click, click, click. I have to be interested in what I believe the results will do,
What's going
right?
to happen from it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And even though I don't think that I'm on one person, right? I feel I have to feel important enough, or I have to feel like actually my response will matter, right? So that's probably the
Yeah.
process I will go through, and to sum it up, right? Great
And
question.
that's what you said is spot on. Like, it's common sense, but of course, like, you're not going to respond to a survey about something you don't care about. Um,
Hmm.
that fact alone means that if you're using a survey to get feedback about something, the answers that you're going to hear are predominantly coming from either your fans or people to whom your product is critical. They have to
Mm.
use it or something like that. The second thing that you said was that you have to know that your feedback is going to matter. And that's critical in any survey design and any feedback mechanism whatsoever, that you're letting people know what you're going to do with it. We do things like, I'm going to invoke one of my employees' name's Rob. He's a product manager. We'll put Rob's picture on the survey
Hmm.
and say, hi, I'm Rob.
Hmm.
I'm trying to learn about this. Can you help me? Um, that personalization of the survey
Hmm.
inherently makes you think, okay, Rob's going to read this. He looks like a nice
Oh,
person.
yeah.
I want to help him with it. Um, but that it doesn't change the fact that if Rob sends me a survey about something I just don't care about at all, like, I'm not going to reply to that. It doesn't matter. So yeah, we learned that the subject matter is important, being very transparent about what you're going to do with the data. One thing that we encourage our customers to do is, if you're setting up a product feedback mechanism, a lot of product managers get nervous, like, well, they're going to expect us to do anything that they say.
Right.
But it's not practical, right? No company is that big that they can do anything. That's
Mhm.
also not a smart business decision. So we encourage people to be upfront about
Right.
that. Like, hey, we read all the feedback that you send in. We can't do everything with it, but we're really going to try to understand the problems that you're presenting and how we can help you. That's what our motivation is. So you want to make sure that people know, no, you're not wasting your time by sending this in. This
Right.
is not going into like some black hole that we're going to put aside and read maybe if we want to
Hmm.
sometime later. This is really something that we're going to use to shape the future of this product.
Yeah, that's important. That reminds me of a book called The Nudge Theory, right?
Mm-hmm. We
And
use nudges
that,
all the time. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are definitely nudges that you would use, and it makes so
Mm-hmm.
much sense to use those nudges in order to influence somebody to actually, fill out the survey, right? Fill it out right, right? Don't
Yep.
just put in crazy things, right? Just to get a reward or something. Because if you do like incentive-based surveys or something, they're just gonna hurry up and click, 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 right? Maybe even fill out something if it's text-based or something,
Just to get the
you
money.
know, that
Yep.
just to get the money, right? And
Yep.
so, it's man, that's great that you are using all these nudges.
Yeah. We were specifically studying providing feedback about products, and in that context, incentives are very low on the list of motivators for people.
Hmm.
They really just want a better product, right? Like, if I don't know,
Ah.
think of the favorite software products that you use.
Hmm.
I don't want $10. I want you to like make it better because I use it every day or every weekend or
Right.
something like that. You know, the music player I use or the streaming services that I use, I don't want $10. I want it to perform as much
Better,
as possible.
right?
I love music. I listen to it all day. I want more of that. So I'm happy to help. You just need to let me know that you're going to do something with it.
Right, right. So that kind of leads me into another question that I had. All right, when you have a product, okay, you have these new features that you're trying to implement throughout the time, right? Most of the
Mhm.
time, you have an engineering team. For some reason, I don't know what it is. No matter how big the company is, the engineering team, the actual people who are putting in these new features, the latest and greatest, they're small as crap, right? For some
Oh
reason,
yeah, always.
and
Never enough.
and
Yep.
so you have right. It's never enough, right? And so they have to prioritize. They have to figure out, what is more important, right? Is it putting this feature A or is it putting
Hmm.
feature B in there, right? And so, should the customer be driving the product roadmap, right? And I ask this because, I have a story that I could tell when working with every company I worked for the past, maybe 10 years, right? EMC, Hitachi, Oracle, and NetApp, right? So within the past 15 years, I worked for different vendors. And when working with the product teams, I believe that the customers did drive the product roadmap, but I do not know if they should, right? In my eyes, because I think about when working with the customers like Wells Fargo and Walmart and Apple, right? When I work for these vendors and I'm working and my customers were Wells Fargo and Walmart, it was really who spend more money. They were the ones who controlled the features that are added and
Hmm.
how many resources are dedicated, right? They didn't care about, the feedback. If they're spending the money, then their feedback was probably prioritized at a higher level, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
what's your
Yep.
thoughts on that?
Uh, that is not an invalid approach, right?
Oh,
I think that customers always need to have a voice in any product. That's a given. But the
mm,
extent to which it drives the roadmap really depends on what the business's goals are. And it sounds like
oh,
the businesses that you were working for were trying to cater towards high dollar enterprise customers, of which
uh,
there's only going to be a small number. So pay attention to what they have to say. And if that's what's going to grow the business, going and doing that thing is not a bad choice, right? It's a decent
mhm,
strategic decision to meet the end goal of the business. Most of us don't work in corporations that are large enough to be that fortunate, right? That we have
mhm.
all these customers that are paying us 8 or 9 figures a year, so
Right.
that if they ask for something, we're going to go do it. Most of us are grinding away, earning $100 here, $1,000 there, something like that, and you probably
Mhm,
have a much larger customer base. So in that case, I think the right answer to that question is zooming way out. First, you have to make sure that your business has articulated its goals clearly. Is it
mhm.
landing new customers? Is it upselling your current customer base? Is it breaking into a new market segment, either geographically or company size or industry or something like that?
Mhm.
Um, you need to know that to be able to compare what the potential impact of any feature might be to that goal. Um,
Mhm.
it's kind of unfair to ask a
It is.
product development team to say, well, here's every idea under the sun, pick the ones that are going to matter the most, when you can't tell
Right.
them what the finish line looks like, right? You have to be able to do that.
Uh,
And it doesn't need to say the same finish line forever. It can't change every week or every, month, even, and at least a quarter or half a year or
right.
something like that. Um, but I think what we always encourage to do is like, all right, express what your goals are and then use all the feedback that you get to see what the best ideas are that are going to help you reach that goal. If you're trying to break into small businesses or something like that, filter all the feedback that you
Mhm.
get by customers who are in small businesses. Do your
Oh,
interviews with people who are in small businesses, do your surveys to people who are in small businesses, and look at what they have
right.
to say. Yeah. You need to segment it in order to get the right answer to that question.
No, that's a great point. Making sure that you're catering towards your goals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what really matters. And I even thought about when you said segmenting, right? You have all these email aliases that you have, right? You have all these emails. If you're trying to set out mass distribution to everybody, right?
Mhm.
That may be a no-no, right? You have millions and millions of emails or thousands of emails, right? I guess what you want to do is categorize them, right? And if you're focusing in on getting feedback from surveys from specific maybe small businesses, then you're going to send them only to the small businesses, right? You're
Mhm.
not going to send them to everybody in the world because it could probably skew the results too, right? If they're
Oh,
giving
totally. Yeah.
data, right? Oh
It's
man.
yeah, it's common for companies to say something like, "What do our customers want?" But most people have a customer base that's large enough that it's not that simple. Like to look at the customer base holistically, um, there's some stuff that you can do in there. But I mean, I live in North Carolina. If you ask me what I think about European tax law, like my opinion should not matter in making any
All
decision what we
right.
do there. In the same way, like what an enterprise company doing business with an Oracle or NetApp does, like, do you want their business point of view on a much smaller product that isn't intended for them? It just wouldn't make sense.
Right, right, right. So diving deeper into the customer itself, right? When you're collecting this data, we had this discussion before. All data is not important, right? When you're collecting data, what data is important to collect when allowing the customer to kind of drive that specific roadmap,
Yeah.
right? You know.
There are two critical things that you
Hmm.
can't live without. First is what they said, and second is who said it. Um, if
Mm,
if I don't have it in their words, then do I really trust it? If a salesperson put their interpretation of what a sales prospect said to them, you're
mm,
not going to believe it quite as much as if you heard it for yourself straight from
right.
the customer. And second, you need to know who it is because of that segmentation problem. Like if uh, we have this ongoing joke at UserVoice. For some reason, we get a lot of furniture stores
Hmm.
coming to us asking to use, or like mom and pop furniture stores,
Hmm.
asking. We build an enterprise product that's scalable for small and medium software businesses, but also really big businesses. Not really built for furniture stores. Um, if one of our salespeople is talking to someone who owns a furniture store and they're asking about feature
Hmm.
X, Y, or Z, I don't care. So I need
Right,
to know who
right.
they are to know who they represent, like what segment they're in. So um, starting with the what they said and who they are, then we can further annotate information about who they are. And that data is freely available, like company sizes, industry, all that stuff is really useful to help you separate the information a little bit more and get to what's more important for your business.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. So, when you're thinking about improving feature request responses throughout that whole process, what are some tips that you would give, right? You think about when I think about improving, I'll just give my opinion, right, first, and you can probably say
Go
yay or
for
nay,
it.
or
Yeah.
just say, Bobby, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Uh, so when I think about improving feature request responses, right, I think about understanding what they're asking for, right? I think
Hmm.
about maybe giving sort of keeping it personal. So even if you're using like a save reply or something like that, or letting them know what you're going to do with the response itself. Does that all help? Do you believe that helps?
It all does. You definitely want to acknowledge the fact that they took the time to provide you with some feedback. A thank you goes a long way. It means that they might do it again if you ask in the future. Letting people know what they do with it. Rolling back, I think when it comes to quality of data, most people, when they're providing product feedback, they tend to speak in
Mm,
solutions rather than problems. They will tell you
mm,
that they would like to have this report or that button over here or this feature or that function, but they won't
mm,
explain why. They won't explain what they're doing with it, why it would make
mm,
their life easier, whether it's in business or whether it's a consumer product. Um,
mm,
so I think that the more you can coach people to tell you what the real problem is, what they're trying to get done, that's going to help you come up with something that's even better than they might be suggesting to you in terms of solving the problem for them. And I think that's a part of product feedback that a lot of people skip. They hear all these things about what people want your product to do, but they don't hear
Mm-hmm.
why they want the product to do that. So making sure that you're prompting people in the right way. Um, Usually, we try to get feedback in pairs of questions. Like I'll ask, "Hey, we're looking at improving the reporting in our product. What
Mm-hmm.
reports would help you?" Cool, they'll list them for you, and then why is that important? Or who would you show this to? Or what will you
Oh,
do with this report? Like something that helps you corroborate the validity of what they said, because they've taken a moment to think about, like, yeah, this would be great. If you did this for me, I could show it to my boss and I would look like this superhero. And that's
right.
going to create loyalty for you. And usually by asking that second question, people will rethink the quality of what they typed in the first section and maybe go back and change it a little bit and say, well, I guess I don't really need that. This other thing would be better. And so it just improves the quality of the feedback that you get by asking a second question.
No, I love that. It's funny because we get these surveys all the time, right? In the company that I work for, right, NetApp, and well, actually, even before that, because I just started with NetApp, but the company
Mhm.
even before that, right, Oracle and all the vendors that I work for do the same thing, right? They send out this mass survey to everybody, say fill it out, right? They say, what would help you do better with your job, right? Or what would what is I guess an incentive? Is it maybe more vacation, right? Is it more money or whatever it is? But also asking why right after that, is important. I love the ask the double question
Mhm.
method, right? You can get so much out of just those two questions alone, right? Why this product, or why this idea, or why, and what it is, right? I mean,
Mhm.
is those are two great things. You could do that almost on anything, right? Does that asking why is another data collection mechanism right there.
It's super important. In fact, if our world were wired this way, I would prefer to start with the why, but most people are not used to answering questions that way. They'll tell you the what. I even think about
Right.
this in terms of people management. Like when we hire a new employee, I want to meet with them and find out what their career goals are. And they'll tell you something like, well, I want to be a director by age 35, or I want to be responsible for this, that, or the other thing. But if you don't ask why, then it might be that that's kind of what their parents are expecting of them, or that's what they think society needs, but it's not really what they want. Where if you can get to the fact, like, well, I want to have kids one day and I want to be able to put away enough money to send them to a good school and all these things. And that's what's
Hmm.
motivating me to want this position. Cool. If I know that your family and your salary are tied to it, is it really about that position? And
Right.
can I potentially create an environment for you that's even happier than that, like, stressful position that you're asking for, where there's something else that is like a bigger win-win? And if you know the why behind it, you can make much better decisions.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, that's amazing because that makes me want to even take it back. I coach football, right?
Hmm.
And they're at the stage. My oldest son, he's like 11 years old, so they're at the stage where they should be doing it on their own, right? They should love the sport enough on their own. But then you have some parents that are like, "You're going to play this
You're going to play
now," and
football.
they're
Yeah.
right, and they're not as maybe talented because they don't really care about it, right? I'm not going to put
Hmm.
in the work. I don't really care. I just show up. My parents are making me do it. But asking, okay, this is you want to play football, right? But why, right? And when you realize that, and the kids are going to be honest, right? They probably give the most honest
Oh,
answers,
kids are really
before
honest.
any
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah.
you know. And so, if you get the why, right, it seems like you can apply that why methodology to more than just surveys and feedback and products. You can apply it everywhere. So I like that data collection mechanism. You can be able to make better decisions even when you're interviewing somebody, like you said. If you understand why, that might give you a better. Honestly, man, I didn't even think about this, Matt. But if you're sitting there and you're saying you're interviewing somebody like you mentioned, and you said, what do you want, right? What do you want in a
Mhm.
better career, a better job? And then they tell you, right? And then you say, well, why, right? And if it is something where they're saying, they care about family, they care about these things, then maybe you as a company now can provide, you can pitch more of a benefit to them from
Mhm.
the company, maybe whether it's like more vacation time, right? It's like, okay, this person
Yep.
likes spending time with their family. That's what it's about. So let's go ahead and focus on the vacation, and then maybe let's focus on the money part, right?
Yeah.
That's
If I can give you
amazing.
better work-life balance, maybe it isn't about cash flow, right? Yeah. And
Right.
I think that's the, we all tend to go on autopilot because there's so much stress and so much information coming our way that
Mhm.
I think having worked on user voice and having worked on this specific use case of looking at product feedback to help you understand what's motivating your customer base and asking for things in their product, it does help you zoom out and think about your life as a whole and
Mhm.
why you do the things you do, why you prioritize the way you spend your time, the people you spend your time with, your career goals, all that stuff. It creates this huge existential mess that I really wasn't expecting to get into talking to you about today, but here it is.
Yeah. It does. It does, man. It does. So, okay. So when you're collecting this data, you're getting feedback from for your SaaS product, right? How do you get more out of it, right? How do you get more feedback from for your B2B SaaS product itself, right? Is it you creating more meeting notes, right, with your interviews? Is it just having more chats, right? I don't know, using things like Discourse or Slack or something like that, or
Mhm.
is it? I mean, is it all the above? I don't know, right?
It is all the above. Like one thing that is true is whether you're capturing the feedback or not, it's there. Uh,
Hmm.
if it's not in Slack or an email or in Zoom transcripts, it's in people's heads, etc. So uh, we try to provide tools with user voice that make sure it's easy to capture wherever it is. So if someone's having a
Hmm.
conversation in Slack, you can always like right click on it and send it to user voice. If
Oh.
a ticket comes into Zendesk and it's not really like a, how do I do this, but it's more of a your product would be better if it did whatever. Make sure you
Hmm.
send that into user voice so the product team sees it.
Oh
Um,
man.
to encourage that, we integrate with Slack and Teams, and at least in our
Mm.
organization, every bit of feedback that comes in about user voice is put into a Slack channel that everyone at the company can read.
Hmm.
So it creates this culture in the organization where everyone has eyes on the product and transparency. There's no longer this notion of like, all right, the product team and engineering team, they're there in their ivory tower. And as a salesperson or as a marketer, I will take the scraps that they hand me and go sell them. That's not true. Like
Right.
everyone knows what we're being asked for. Everyone knows what feedback is coming in. So the first is like it's there. Grab it, put it somewhere. Even if you're just using a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something like that, it's a good way to get started.
Hmm.
The second is don't be afraid to ask. I think we've already talked about surveys and all that stuff, but there are plenty of companies that just they may not be that company that's fed by a handful of high-paying enterprise companies, but they're
Hmm.
comfortable with a few customers, so they're the only ones that they ever talk to, and they're getting this very like tunnel vision view of what their product is like because they feel good about talking to their favorite customer and they have a nice personal relationship with them and they're afraid to talk to people who might be critical of them. But making sure that you open yourself up. This is not life and death. This is not someone accusing you of being a bad person. These are people
Hmm.
telling you how to make your product better. So being open to listen to like their criticisms, it's a product. Who cares? Like just listen and see if you can help them out a little bit more. A lot of people get nervous about it, but once they start asking, you feel a whole lot better because you're shining a light in a place that was previously dark and you didn't know the answer before.
And do you see a lot of companies, they want to ask for the feedback, but when they get the feedback, they don't do anything with it?
No, I think the more common thing we see is that people kind of, when you go up to a swimming pool and you look at it and you're thinking, boy, that looks deep and it looks cold. There are some people
Mm-hmm.
who like jump in and they realize, yeah, it's going to be cold, but it'll feel good after I'm done. Other people just
Mm-hmm.
walk away. Like they say to themselves, like, if we open up this door, we're going to hear things that we don't like. We're going to have to respond to all of it, which is not true. And they just back off of it. They'll say, like, we don't have time for this. Like, okay, so your alternative is that you're just going to blindly move forward and keep spending money developing a product where you kind of don't know ahead of time whether it's what people want. So I think the more common use case is not that people collect it and don't do anything with it. It's that they don't even start in the first place.
All right. Now that's a great point, man. That's an excellent point. So I look, Matt, I appreciate you being on, and a lot of times, as the audience know, I like to end what I call a dope data nugget or a gem, and I want to summarize what I've learned from you today for the audience. And the way I look at it is, society has had this concept of intuition, right, all the time, right? And they look at just simply knowing when something is right or wrong. That's just what they go by, their intuition. But with user voice, right, and tools like this, and just understanding the feedback from the customer and the voice of the customer itself, now you can support your decisions that are out there, right? You don't have to worry about whether I think that they enjoy, as an organization, maybe they really do enjoy this new team building exercise that I did out there. Well, why not just ask? Why not just ask if it really is something that they like doing, or is it a waste of their time, right? I like
Yeah,
this, So I really enjoy you being on. Is there anything you want to leave with the audience?
I think you're exactly right. Like, I think more often than not, people's intuition is right. Right, you're working on something that you have some expertise in, so you hope that your batting average is above 500 in your
Right.
intuition. But if you think about corroborating that with some data,
Hmm.
you're going to sleep better at night. There are these other side effects, right? Like, if you record what people have to say about this feature, then your marketing team has something that they can use without any additional research to go sell it, to go pitch it to people, to go advertise. Your sales team can use the same
Right.
thing. There's just benefits all over the place. And so I feel like the ROI on the time you spend to listen just pays off in spades.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's all about the getting more efficient with the way that you. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, right? That's a great point because I sit there and I look at so many things that are wasted, right? Ads,
Mhm.
whatever it is that's out there when they're trying to sell a product, right? They're creating all these ads, spending $1,000 on ads, but they don't know if it really is working, right? By looking at the data, by looking at the feedback from the customers, they're able to actually find that out. So
Totally.
thank you
Yeah.
for that. Thank you for that, Matt. As everybody knows, I like to end with a game, right? It's a fun game that I like to play with my guests. It's called Overrated, Underrated, and I'm very excited to play this game with you, Matt. I have a lot of questions, right? A lot of new questions. Okay, so
I can't wait
so
for this.
when
This is what I'm
I
looking forward to the most.
so I'll just explain it to the audience if they haven't heard it before. When I play this game, right, I basically ask the guests a series of topics. Right, I'll throw a series of topics out there. Either 5 to 10 topics. How much time, depending on how much time we have, and the guest just gets to choose whether they believe it's overrated, underrated, or right where it needs to be. And then, this really lets the audience know, hey guys, we're not all about technology. I mean, we are, right? Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. We do love technology or everything about it. Matt is a programmer, just like myself, a developer. So he's always probably thinking about the next greatest idea and innovation, things like that. But he does like to do normal people stuff, right? Just like me. And so, are you ready for the questions?
Hit me. I'm ready.
All right. Okay, the first one, we're gonna start off with something a little easy. Pizza.
Oh, I mean, could pizza ever be overrated? It can't be. Like, there's an infinite amount of pizza to be eaten in the world, and we will all
Yeah.
drop dead, I think, before that itch has been scratched completely. So pizza is still underrated.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I agree. and then they're coming out with, you have different versions of the pizza, right? You can have, they're just adding new things, right, every time, right? Different toppings, all these
Mhm.
different things. So it's always catering towards something, someone out there, right? So I agree completely. Deep dish, whatever it is, you got different variations.
You
So
put bread, cheese, tomatoes, and like pick your cured meat or vegetable. Like you can't go wrong
mhm,
with that. It's always good.
got you. You're right. You're right. Okay, avocados.
From a marketing perspective, I would say overrated because you can't get away from them, but I like them. So I think in terms of like the avocado in and of itself is just
hmm
fine. Like it's just right. The um gosh, I already dated myself earlier in the podcast, so I can say this without fear. We've gone through several periods where like for a while there, everything had baking soda in it, and baking soda was
Uh-huh.
supposed to make toothpaste better and cleaners better and all that stuff. And now I
Mhm.
feel like every food item you get, like it's got a few slices of avocado on it just to make it better. And
Yeah.
I think, okay, cool. It's just going to get displaced by something else sometime soon. But I like
Mhm.
avocados; they're fine.
Yeah, for me, avocados are cool. I don't think I've ever said, "Hey, I want avocados," right?
Nope.
I never said, "Hey, I wanted guacamole," right? I for some reason I just never, unless it's seasoned properly, right? For me, it has to be seasoned a certain way. Now, I know that when I was going through this whole diet program with a personal trainer, when trying to eat right, and they had me on high protein diet and all the good stuff, and they said, hey, you have to get an avocado, and cut it in half, and you have to eat it, once a day, and I was like, oh crap, man, why do I have to get avocado? Right? Can I just get some guacamole that has like some
Something
tomato
else in
salsa in
it.
there?
Yeah.
So. And so what I do is I'll cut the avocado in half, and then I'll add like maybe some salt and pepper to it, right? Or some season like Mr. Dash or something that doesn't have a bunch of sugar in it. And it makes it taste better for me. But I don't know. Maybe it's just right where it needs to be. Overrated
Yeah.
for me. I don't know.
Avocados, in and of it, like by themselves, they're bland. But I think the reason people like them is that they adapt well to their environment, whether it's
Hmm.
guacamole or on a burger or something like that. It's like butter. Like, are you going to eat
Yeah.
butter by itself? You're
Yeah.
not. Uh, but adding avocado to something like it's okay. When I was younger, I hated them. I wouldn't eat guacamole. I wouldn't eat avocados. It's one of those
Yeah.
places where like your taste develops as you get older, I think.
I agree. I agree. All right. The Titanic movie.
Oh gosh. If you'd asked me when it came out, uh, all right, we're gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent.
Uh
That
huh. Uh huh.
movie was all over the place when it came out. Like everyone had to go see it. It was
Yeah.
good. Like it was spectacular, fun to watch, all that stuff. The reason that this is interesting is the song, the
Oh
Celine Dion "My Heart Will Go
yeah.
On" song, which is
Yeah.
all over the place. I have a second job. I DJ in a club. I've been doing this for almost 30
Oh,
years at
nice.
this point. The remix of the Titanic song would fill the dance floor with people singing that song at the top of their lungs. So every time I think of Titanic,
Oh
the
man.
movie, that's what I think of. And just a couple months ago, I decided to dust that remix off and play it. And still, for a
Uh huh.
generation that, like, this club has like 18 to 21 plus people in it, they still know all the words. It was crazy. Uh,
Oh man.
the movie itself, I don't think it's held up really well over time, so I'm going to say overrated. But at the time, it was appropriately rated.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think the first time that I saw it, I was like, "Wow, this is a good movie." And I'm a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's what really got me as well. And then over time, I don't know if I've ever gone back to watch it after like once, the first, like the whole movie, right? Because this is a
Yeah,
long movie, right? And I think I've gone back. Probably I've watched bits and pieces of it along the time, right? It's one of those movies where I could start in the middle and just
it's
continue to
fine.
watch it,
Yeah,
or I might watch it towards the end. I'm like, oh, that's great. But the song, I didn't even think about the song and how the song actually, I think, helps the movie continue to live on,
quite a bit.
right, past the
Oh,
time.
it helps its heart go on.
great point. Great point. Great point.
By the way, when it comes to Leonardo DiCaprio, I really like him too. But he's like Keanu Reeves to me. I like him
Yeah.
as an adult actor more. Like as he
Uh-huh.
does more and more stuff, he's no longer like this young. You know, he wasn't a teenager, I don't think, in Titanic, but like young actor. He had chops in
Mhm.
the end that like grew, and his later movies are even better.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, now he's really, definitely good. If I went back and looked at his younger time, I mean, he's definitely improved over time in my eyes.
Hmm.
All right, Taco Bell.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say overrated, and here's why. I went to
Uh-huh.
Taco Bell for the first time in a while, probably 3 weeks ago. The prices have gone through the roof. Taco
Hmm.
Bell used to be the place where you could get like 72 tacos for $10
Yeah,
and eat your fill. And now, like, but I got a quesadilla and a taco and a drink, and it was like a little over $10.
yeah,
Um, for $10, I could go to any one of like the actual Mexican places around here
yeah, a
and get
real taco
something
spot.
much better.
Right.
So yeah, no, overrated. Previously, I would have said
Yeah.
underrated, but now,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I went to Taco Bell the same, probably about 2 weeks ago, and I did not go to Taco Bell for a long time before that, right? I would go to different Mexican restaurants, there, eat authentic tacos, great
Mhm.
travel places, and eat the authentic tacos is amazing, right? And so I said, hey, why would I go to Taco Bell? Right? I've been all these other places that give me these real authentic tacos, and then I feel like Taco Bell is I think I went on a rant the other day about it after I actually tried it and after several years, and I just think that they're all over the place, right? They could really hone in on
Yeah,
making some really great tacos, but now they're just like, let me give you all these different things and these options, and and not even specialize and focus on the tacos.
yeah, and it's there are great tacos to be had in a lot of places now. So I don't need Taco Bell to be the best taco I've ever had, but I
Right.
want it to be like the guilty pleasure itch to scratch. But even that, it wasn't satisfying.
Hmm.
I think the difference between like a burger at a sit down restaurant or one that you make yourself versus going to Wendy's or something like or Five Guys, there's room for both of those because they're different
Right.
things. But Taco Bell, I don't know, it's sunk below a level.
Man, they need user voice, man. They need user voice, right?
I kind of fear to know. We have a great many customers, and some of them are in very interesting industries that you might be able
Mhm.
to guess by my caginess about it. And reading some of the feedback
Yeah.
that you get about certain products is interesting. I'd love to read what the universe has to say about Taco
Uh,
Bell.
all right, libraries.
Oh gosh. Certainly underrated. I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of reading. I'm a big fan of books. I feel like most people don't have the attention span anymore to read any long format, either novels or nonfiction.
Mhm.
And I wish people would do that more. I also like the notion of libraries as a less stimulating environment for most people
Mm.
to actually find a little bit of peace. Because even if you go to a coffee shop these days, it's like bustling and loud. And I feel like a library is one of the few places you can go to where it's not socially acceptable to be on your phone making noise or like even the bleed coming out of your headphones while you're listening to music would be frowned
Right.
upon.
Right.
I'm a fan of
Right.
quiet and I'm a fan of books, so more libraries, please.
Yeah. 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 I like books. I don't know if I haven't been to a library in like years, man. I don't know. I mean, my kids, I took them to a library before, pick out a book, because that was sort of what my parents did,
What
right?
you do?
You just
Yep.
felt like, it was the right thing to do, I guess. But I'll go to like a Barnes Noble, right, or Books a Million or something like that. It's more of a cool environment or laid back
Hmm.
environment for me to sit in. When you're around that area, right, there's a little bit more noise than you would accept in a library, right? And so I
Yeah,
do get that, and
but I
but
think
for some reason,
a Barnes and Noble would be okay too because it's not a circus in a Barnes and Noble.
right,
It's
right,
still quiet. So yeah, I think Barnes and Nobles for a while were like the modern library. Um,
hmm
Yeah, it's a dying breed. They're not going to be around for a long time, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised the libraries are still around,
I,
right
I
now.
agree. I mean, you
I
can
mean, I
put it
can give
all on
my
the
kids
internet
all these
now.
books. Yeah, I know. My son, he's listens to audiobooks, right? Harry Potter audiobooks, or you can get it from Amazon if you want a real book, right? In your
Hmm.
hand, right? Hardcover. So, yeah. All right, radio.
Mm, dead. It's been replaced.
Uh,
It's been replaced by something better.
uh-huh.
I mean, I think there is one exception to that. I do like talk radio still. Um,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
NPR or something like that. That's interesting, and it's like this always on stream of stuff. But that's not really different from like a cable news channel uh,
Yeah. It's
with
just
some
when
more
you're in the car,
objectivity.
right? You could listen to
Yeah,
it for that, right?
I've never been a radio fan in my life because I'm kind of a control freak about the music that I listen
Uh-huh.
to.
I
I want
agree.
to pick what I listen to. So yeah, I don't need music
But
radio
it
anymore.
was at one point, right? I mean, that it was at one point where we weren't able to choose what we wanted because you had to
Where you
listen
would
to
hear
the
new
radio.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
But even then, like at a young age, I was buying records and tapes and CDs and all that
Ah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. I guess you're a DJ, so you were like, I
Yeah,
really need to listen to what I want to listen to, right?
I
So
still can't give it up. In my house, I still have like several thousand CDs just in storage, which I don't know why I'm hanging on to, but
hey, you may be
yeah,
worth something one day, you know.
who knows?
All right, two more. Okay, well, maybe three more. Bacon.
I'm going to rock the boat here. Bacon got too popular, and
Oh,
because of it,
what?
I think I would now call it overrated.
Uh,
It's like avocado; it's on everything and it's everywhere, and it's what used to be like, oh, interesting, they threw a strip of bacon on this food that I wouldn't expect it on, is
mhm.
now on everything, and I'm ready for something new.
Yeah. I don't like bacon on things, right? Actually,
It's like just
I'll
bacon.
yeah, just give me bacon, and it has to be crispy, right? It has to be crispy bacon. I don't like the non-crispy bacon. That's
Yeah, what's the right level of doneness for you on bacon? Would you go, on the spectrum of disgusting grease pile to burnt to a crisp?
yeah,
Where do you
probably.
land?
I would probably. I enjoy more of the burnt to a crisp type of bacon. Maybe a little bit less,
A little
right?
less like
But
stiff
I
and dry is
yeah, yeah.
your all
But I
right.
don't want to chew, right? I don't like thick cut, right? You can't chew forever, right? I don't like that.
All
So it
right.
has to be thin. Yeah.
I go for I like my bacon in the state where if you did it any more, it would hold itself up, but it's not quite there yet. Like it's still gonna like if you hold it in your hand, it's still gonna like fall down a little bit.
Uh-huh. All right. New Year's Eve.
I love New Year's Eve. I love New Year's Eve and I love Thanksgiving and 4th of July and Memorial Day because they are not steeped in having to buy gifts and think about all this other stuff.
Ah,
Like
great point.
New Year's Eve, like go be with your friends, have some drinks. Thanksgiving, sit with your
Hmm.
family, eat a lot of food. I like those kind of holidays. So
Yeah.
uh,
That's a great point. I didn't think about it like that. How those
yeah,
are not wrapped around money making, right?
they're like no stress holidays.
Yeah.
Working in a club like I do, New Year's is the second busiest night of the year behind Halloween. So I could do without like the overcrowded businesses to
Hmm.
celebrate New Year's Eve. But if you're, with your friends at a nice place, like you can't beat that.
Okay. All right. Last one, summertime.
Bring it. Underrated. If it was summer all year, I'd be happy. I'm a warm weather
Man, I'm
person.
with you, man. I'm with you. If I could move to a warm weather location where it's warm all the time, I mean, I would do it, right?
I would
California,
too.
I would do it, because every time I go out to California, it's just, I'm very jealous of the weather there. I hate the traffic, but I love the weather.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to take the traffic sometimes and work at home maybe all the time if I could deal
Yeah.
with the weather, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice weather is, it affects my mood strongly. the cold. I grew up in the Northeast, so like snow was common, and
Oh man.
now that I get to choose where I want to live, I'm going warm all day.
Man. Well, thank you, Matt. Again, I appreciate it. And audience, thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast. The show that makes data your passion. I am your host, Dapper Data. Where can they reach you at, Matt? And is there anything that you are promoting now?
Oh yeah. Well, uservoice.com, our company. We have a couple of products there that you can go look at. We publish a lot of content that should be generally helpful for product managers on our blog. We try to do that like in a very non-salesy, like really help people. If I can help any of you personally, my email address is matt@uservoice.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn by searching Matt Young UserVoice. I am not a salesperson, I'm an engineer. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in talking about data, or we're doing a 4-day work week experiment at UserVoice, any of that stuff. Talking with people is a mechanism of getting feedback, and the more I learn, the more people I talk to, the better. So if I can help you and a conversation will be worthwhile, let me know.
All right, great, Matt. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. And audience, you can always reach me at Mr. Dapper Data on any one of the social media platforms. If you search for me on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms that you listen to, Dapper Data or Data is My Science podcast, definitely make sure that you follow me. Definitely make sure that you like. If you like it, then definitely do it. If you don't like it, then just click away. Don't even give feedback.
No, you're supposed to ask to find out why. Come on.
We do want to know the why. We want to know the why. Like Matt said. So thank you again, Matt. I appreciate it. And audience, I'll see you next time. Love you. Peace.